Good morning. My name is Jillian Black, and welcome to the Department of Family and Support Services Comprehensive Fitness Program for Older Adults RFP webinar. Just a few housekeeping rules. Due to the volume of participants, everyone has been placed on mute. Please submit questions via the questions box, and we will respond to the questions at the end and at the midpoint of the presentation. Please use the question box to notify us of any technical issues. Please be advised that this webinar is being recorded. Anything stated at this webinar is not intended to change the solicitation document. Any changes will be in the form of writing within an addendum issued by the Department of Family and Support Services. The purpose of this webinar is to provide information for the solicitation. A copy of the recording will be posted on the DFSS YouTube channel with the link of the recording, and a PDF of the PowerPoint slides will be posted on the DFSS webpage at www.chicago.gov under alerts and/or funding opportunity tabs. Please give it up to 5 business days to upload. DFSS retains the right to share a list of registrants to this webinar, along with their contact and organizational information at our discretion. Joining us today is Deputy Commissioner Yolanda Curry, who should be joining shortly, as well as Project Coordinator Nathaniel Cummings, both with Senior Services, here to provide details and to answer any questions you may have regarding this RFP. As for the agenda, we will go through the purpose, the background of the RFP, information about the scope and program description, the selection criteria, timeline, technical assistance for applicants and e-procurement, and then one last round for questions. And with that being said, I will hand it over to the Senior Services team to go through the details of the RFP.
Yeah, I can go ahead and get us started. So as Jillian said, my name is Nate Cummings. I'm a project manager here at DFSS in the Senior Services division. And so I'll go ahead and lead us through a lot of this RFP PowerPoint. And Yolanda, I'm not sure if you want to do an introduction or not. If you do, I guess you can feel free to right now. Or if not, I will continue on. And so you came off mute.
Go ahead and continue on, Nate. I will jump in as needed, but it'll be your show, and I'm supporting today.
Sounds good. Okay, so we can jump right in. So the purpose of this RFP, the purpose of the Comprehensive Fitness RFP is to seek qualified organizations in providing fitness services to our older adults aged 55 and older at our network of 21 citywide senior centers. So that's our 6 regional centers, and then our 15 satellite centers, and then 12 community site locations, as well as online and over the phone program offerings. So here, like I said, we can dive into a little bit of the background. As we can tell, or as you can all see, the older adults population in the city of Chicago is growing rapidly every year. And the amount of chronic health conditions and 2 chronic health conditions per person are also increasing every year at a pretty significant rate, as you can see on that second bullet point. The CDC does list the numerous and immediate long-term benefits for older adults that participate in physical activities regularly. And you can see those benefits down there listed out: improved sleep quality, reduction of blood pressure, lowering risk of heart disease, stroke, dementia, type 2 diabetes, and depression, and reducing the likelihood of falls. All of those are obviously extremely important bullet points that and chronic diseases that we're looking to have an effect on with this type of programming. So like I said, the last bullet point, the prevalence of chronic health conditions, falls, and behavioral health issues show that the importance of developing and offering comprehensive fitness services to the older adult population. So here we can look at the goals of this RFP. So the goals for our comprehensive fitness programming is to increase fitness and health awareness, increase self-determination in managing their health, and increase positive health behaviors for the senior population of Chicago. So the current state, there are fitness programming serving about 17,000 seniors in the city. So that's, like I said, throughout our all of our city centers, as well as our community site locations. And 95% have indicated, 95% of the participants have indicated that overall they were satisfied with the programming, and they believe that their quality of life has increased. So our priorities for improvement, while those numbers look good, sounds like our programming is doing very well. There's obviously still points that we want to do better and increase, since the number of older adults are always increasing. And as you can see in those last bullet points, it's one of the things we're looking on increasing is the number of survey responses. So we're looking to increase that by about 40%. We really want to make sure we are getting the full opinion of a lot of the clientele that we're serving on a day-to-day basis. And then we're also trying to focus on expanding the evidence-based program offerings. So really any of those highest tier evidence-based offerings that are fitness programs, we're really looking at bringing in some of those new ones and figuring out more ways that we can expand the programming beyond what we have been doing for the last few years, just to give more variety and more health offerings to our health and fitness offerings to our seniors. The intended target population for this program, as I said earlier, are adults aged 55 and older. Though at our senior center, at our regional centers, I believe the required age is a little bit higher, because this includes our satellite centers as well as community locations. It is that 55 and older age range that we're looking to impact with this program. And we're looking to make sure we target specific subpopulations as well. And those are all listed out here. As you can see, we're looking for adults living in medically underserved areas, older adults demonstrating greatest economic needs, older adults at risk of institutional placement, with older adults with limited English proficiency, and older adults with disabilities. The selected respondent must collect the demographic data for DFSS to continue monitoring how Chicago residents are best served. So again, as I said a little bit earlier, that we're looking for this to be at our site locations. So the 21 senior centers and the 12 community site locations, as well as over the phone and online program delivery. And so that is one of the main requirements for our programming here and for this RFP. The selected respondent is expected to assist with outreach efforts, as well as participant screening, or utilizing at least the existing one, if there is one that is currently being used. And also a physician certification is required before using some of the fitness room equipment. The selected respondent must utilize certified fitness instructors and professionals to deliver the following core services. So group exercise classes, one-on-one personal training, social isolation fitness programming, and additional health and promotion consulting projects. So those are all those are the core services that we're looking to do. How those get done is kind of where the evidence-based programming comes in. But those are the main core things we're looking to focus on with this program. And then the selected respondent is authorized to propose a per hour unit rate for the service offered as described in the RFP, and that will be done through a cost proposal that myself or Yolanda will talk about in a little bit. So just a few more of the program requirements, just to make sure we're all good on them. The selected respondent should develop policies and procedures to include sections on training personnel, personal protective equipment, health screenings, temperature checks, and contact tracing. There should also be a special emphasis placed on developing contingency plans for an emergency that requires a change in programming, location, dates, times. So again, something like COVID, we're expecting the respondent to be able to have policies and procedures in place for something like that, if that were to happen again. The respondent is required to assign and maintain for the duration of the services a staff of competent personnel that is fully certified or licensed, equipped, competent, and qualified to perform the services. You will retain and make available to the city, state, and federal agencies governing funds provided under this agreement, proof of certification or expertise, including but not limited to certifications, licenses, and job descriptions. So all of that to say, you are required to have the appropriate staff to be running this program. And you can see below the required positions are the program coordinator and director, as well as the fitness instructors and professionals that must possess at least one of the indicated certifications that are listed in the RFP. The selected respondent will adhere to the background check requirements, training requirements, as well as we do want to always highlight that the respondent is not allowed to charge participants for this programming, though if participants would like to donate, that is accepted, but that is a whole other aspect of it. It's just we're making sure we highlight that this is not supposed to be being charged by the respondent. So our performance goals and outcomes, anyone who has applied to these within our past few cycles has probably seen something similar, though I know we've changed a bit about how we started talking about our goals and outcomes, and we started having more specific benchmarks that we'd like our service providers to reach. So we're really looking for these performance indicators to be hit. As you can see, we're looking for about 75% of participants to report an increase in their fitness health, in their self-determination to manage their health, and in their positive behaviors. And then the bottom ones, which are more towards our numbers and clientele that we like are actually providing the service to, and the numbers of them that we're seeing on a yearly basis. I'm looking at 85% of participants to report satisfaction, 9,500 unduplicated program participants, 1,500 new program participants, and 12,000 service hours provided. The selection criteria and community involvement. Oh, right. So getting into basically what the RFP will be, how you all will be selected, and what some of the questions and everything that will be asked and evaluated on. We'll start with this section. So we'll start with the community involvement. We're going to be evaluating these applications for the community involvement section based on the respondent's ability to clearly describe the target population the agency plans on serving, the respondent's specific capabilities and infrastructure to better serve the intended target population. The respondent also should include how the organization solicits feedback from clients and community and incorporates that back into service delivery. And the respondent should clearly describe their efforts to become more inclusive in internal operations. So clearly describing a diversity, equity, inclusion, and access plan and how it's being executed throughout internal operations, as well as how leadership reflects the populations that are served. So the selection and application criteria for our organizational capacity will be as follows. The respondent has identified an adequate number of essential positions and personnel to meet programmatic expectations. So again, just expecting you all to have the proper amount of staff to run the program. The respondent demonstrates organization's ability to ensure adequate fiscal monitoring and expenditure. And the respondent has the relevant systems and processes needed to collect and store key participant and performance data. So being able to just keep track of everything as well as your fiscal monitoring. As far as the strength of proposed programs, obviously we've got a few different core things that we're going to be focusing on. So this is really going to try to hammer home this area. This is where a lot of those points are going to come from. We want to see that the programming is robust and following really what we're looking to achieve with this RFP and with this fitness programming throughout our city. So that's why there's a lot of questions here we're really going to ask into some detail to make sure that how the program is being run is what we're looking for. So the respondent has a plan that's aligned with the best practices to address the core service of group exercise classes. And they have a plan to achieve the desired outcomes while also addressing the needs of the target population. And at the bottom 2 bullet points, you'll see that same line, but for the one-on-one personal training as well as the social isolation programming. Similar things, we're just looking for you all to be able to show your plan to address the core services of those classes and programmings, and be able to target the population and be able to meet the needs of the target population. The respondent will show evidence of the best practices, as well as have a plan to identify and recruit and retain clients from the target population. And the respondent should be able to provide an estimate of the number of clients to be served, which will meet the programmatic expectations, which was listed in the goals slide just a few back if you ever need to look back at that. As far as performance management and the outcomes, we're going to be looking at, on the applications, we're going to be looking at the respondent providing program level data over the last 12 months to demonstrate performance toward reaching the outlined goal. So we want to see, prior data, anything to show that the organization has historical capabilities and programmatic capabilities to run and meet the outlined goals that we have set forward. The respondent has experience using the data to inform and improve its services or practices. Again, one of the goals that was listed out, we're just looking to make sure that our respondents and our service provider is able to utilize data in the best way to make sure that best practices are always being followed. And the respondent has the ability to disaggregate the data collected and use the data to identify racial, gendered, enabled, or other disparities in program delivery. So again, just being able to use that data and make changes to the program as necessary. And I believe this is the final of the selection criteria slides, and it is, of course, the most fun, sarcastic, but it is the budget, the reasonable cost and budget justification. So the respondent should provide program level data over the last 12 months demonstrating the performance towards reaching the outlined goal. Oh, it looks like this actually was copied the same. Luckily, I believe this should be the same thing. So I apologize, it looks like this slide got duplicated from what the last one was, but I'll go over the bullet points at least here, and I can try to put them in a chat if I need to. But the respondent has cash flow and capacity to expend funds prior to reimbursement. The respondent has additional funding that will be used to support this program, and the respondent demonstrates reasonable implementation costs. And the proposed budget, though it will be a cost of service proposal, supports the proposed scope of work. And again, I can type those into the chat in a minute here. So that way you all have at least a solid idea of what we're looking for when it comes to the budget justification and leverage of funds, though it'll be nothing that you won't see when you pull up the RFP application. The bullet points will be listed there as well. Yeah, so there was one more slide. We do have a few attachments that we're going to need all of our respondents to make sure that are attached to all of their applications. So we're looking for that participant screening and assessment and the physician certification forms. We're looking for the job descriptions for your key staff personnel, and we're looking to have you attach your cost proposal for this program. Please make sure that all these attachments are submitted with your application. Otherwise, we will not be able to fully accept and review your application. So to go over kind of how the evaluation process is going to work, we'll accept all of the RFPs up until all of the RFP applications up until the closing date, which is December 13th, I believe. Jillian, is that correct? Okay. Couldn't remember wanted to make sure I was thinking of that right. So yeah, December 13th will be accepting, will be the date that we stop accepting the applications. And then we'll evaluate all those applications on the strength of the proposal and the responsiveness to the selection criteria. A failure to submit a complete proposal or respond fully to all requirements may make your submission subject to rejection. So again, make sure that all of those questions are being answered and that all of the attachments and everything are there. Otherwise, we might not be able to review or accept your application. After that, the commissioner, upon review of the recommended agencies, may reject, deny, or recommend agencies that have applied for grants based on previous performance and or area of need. And then DFSS does reserve the right to ensure that all mandated services are available citywide and provided in a linguistically and culturally appropriate manner. So here's just a quick timeline. I think some of it was said at the beginning of the webinar, but pre-proposal webinar is today, and thank you all for joining. As you've got the pleasure to listen to me run over this this exciting time for RFPs. The due date to submit the pre-proposal questions will be next week, 11/25. The applications will be due, like I said, on December 13th, and then the program period will begin on 12/16. So here's where we'll be looking at pretty much how the contract term and everything will break down, but your contract term, at least for the first year, will be from 12/16 to 12/16 of 2025. And this term could be extended for up to 2 additional years that will follow the same type of time frame. The amount awarded for this RFP for 1 year is $569,661. When you submit that cost proposal, this will be a submission for a 1 year, 12 months cost proposal for your services. This do not submit one that is trying to extrapolate out for the next 2 years, assuming on extensions. Just submit one that covers just the 1 year. Cost category definitions, yeah, that bullet point isn't as important because this will be, you all will be submitting cost proposals to us. Though I do really want to highlight some of these other ones. Be thoughtful and inclusive when developing your budget or a cost proposal. Like, apply your program's actual costs. Be very specific about with your budget, so that way we know what we're looking at when we are evaluating it, or with your cost proposal. Sorry, not budget. We generally cannot give more money than what you ask for. And you should be using the reasonable cost question on the application to discuss how you determined the cost reflected in that cost proposal. So here's just a few common mistakes that we see when it comes to like budgets, cost proposals, kind of the more financial stuff that comes with submitting these RFPs. So I just want to make sure. Sorry, I thought I saw something come up. I wanted to make sure there wasn't a question necessarily. So as I said, fringes, check your calculations, always make sure that, maybe like they always used to, have to tell me all the time, you can triple check your work because your math's off. So always make sure you're checking everything when you submit. Supplies or anything, like make sure, like I said, when you're submitting that cost proposal, you are taking your actual, you are really submitting your actual costs, and you're thinking hard about how much everything is going to cost you. I said client assistance is there. Make sure you are entering your cost proposal items in the correct columns and everything, as it shouldn't be too complicated, but we all know it's very easy to accidentally misclick and enter something else that's not supposed to be. So always double check that before you submit it, and then make sure you show the match that will be required. Again, just to make sure that we are really hammering this home and that nobody misses this, the applications are due on the 13th of 2024. So just in a few weeks. It's coming up fast, so make sure you're working on your applications.
Thank you, Nate. Now I'm about to go into application tips and e-procurement. We can't stress enough that we want all potential applicants to start as early as possible and save their work as often as possible. If you have never done business with the city of Chicago, please register into iSupplier ASAP. Review RFP narratives and applications questions closely, and remember they align with the scope and the selection criteria. Please use the information in the RFP for guidance in formulating your answers. There is a 4,000 character limit, which includes punctuation and spaces. Each response is allotted 4,000 characters. And please do not use the back button on your browser. You could potentially lose your work. And once again, start your application as early as possible and save as often as possible. Just a couple tips for working in e-procurement. To submit multiple applications for a single RFP, applicants will need to set up a unique user account in iSupplier. The e-procurement system is not capable of submitting more than one distinct proposal per associated email address. Therefore, you must use a separate email address for each submission. For RFPs that require a completed cost proposal in place of a budget form, and in this case, that would be the case in this case of the RFP. Although we require the cost proposal, the e-procurement system requires at least one entry in the budget lines in the e-procurement system. This is purely for systematic purposes only. We still require the completed cost proposal for your submission, your application. Just wanted to put that out there. You can submit your application and later amend it up until the due date of December 13th at 12 noon. You can always avoid the rush and possible mishaps by submitting your application early. Plan on your submission taking approximately 30 to 60 minutes. Please be advised that late applications cannot and will not be accepted. Also, we stress to make use of the e-procurement hotline for help at 312-744-4357. This hotline operates during business hours only, which is Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. Once again, save your application as often as possible and submit as early as possible. Just a couple of agency requirements. We require articles of incorporation and any amended articles of incorporation. We also require an IRS information letter. This is for not-for-profit agencies only. And the letter must be dated within 60 days of submission. And this letter can be obtained by calling the IRS directly at 1-877-829-5500. If you are a for-profit agency, just submit your original letter from the IRS showing your FEIN number. The UEIN number for your agency is also required, as well as a central contractor registration. Please provide a copy of the entity overview page on the www.sam.gov website. And lastly, the certificate of good standing letter with the state of Illinois is also required. As of April of this year, we have the new labor peace agreement ordinance, which will apply to all DFSS and CDPH delegates that have 20 or more employees working for their organization. The only exemption is that it does not apply to hospitals. Contractors must provide written notice to the commissioner or her designee within 72 hours of becoming aware that employees want to organize or that a union seeks to represent employees. The contractor must enter into an LPA within 90 days of receiving notice from the organization, a labor organization that it represents or seeks to represent employees. You may ask, what is an LPA? An LPA is an agreement between an employer and a labor union that assures that an organizing drive is not impacted by union busting techniques, including employee retaliation, and in return, they will not strike in or stop work in a way that will impact human services. For technical assistance, there is a link on the DFSS web page. There will be a link to the RFP of interest and training documents. Please see the alerts section on our website. For questions on registration and e-procurement, technical assistance for delegate agencies, please feel free to contact customer support at cityofchicago.org. And they also can be reached by phone at 312-744-4357. And lastly, we also have training materials, which includes documents and videos on the website as well. And the link is listed here on the cityofchicago.gov.org website under online training materials. With that being said, we're going to now delve into how to enter your responses and accepting amendments. First, for step one, you create quote from the drop-down button and from the drop-down menu in the actions box, and then you click on go. And this will take you to the application part of page where you can get started. If the RFP you are interested in has been amended, you will need to acknowledge and accept the amendment to start or submit a response. To accept the amendment, you click on View Amendment History. Step two, to begin the acceptance and acknowledgement process, please follow these steps after clicking View Amendment History. First, you click on the document number. Next, click on the infinity or eyeglass icon to review the amended changes to the RFP. And then lastly, click on the Acknowledge Amendments button to acknowledge receipt and understanding of these changes and then proceed. By acknowledging the amendment, you are indicating that you are aware of the changes made to the RFP in the amendment. And once you get to this screen, you click on the I accept checkbox and then click on Acknowledge. Lastly, you click on Yes to indicate that you confirm your acknowledgement of the amendment. Finally, you click on the checkbox that you accept the terms and conditions and then click on Accept to actually accept them. And that is the final step in acknowledging and accepting the amendment. Once the amendment is acknowledged and accepted, you can move on to submitting your application. Once you've entered all of your responses and you uploaded all of your required documents, including the cost proposal in this case, you start by saving your draft one last time and then you click continue. If you are missing information, e-procurement would not let you move forward. It will actually give you a error message up at the top of the page. As you can see here in our example, it says the RFP control requires you to quote on all lines, which means that something was missing. Usually the error message directs to something left undone in the application. In the last example, the error message indicated that the lines found under the Lines tab had not been completed or filled out. In the example listed here, the error is about an unanswered question in the application or the requirements section. The quote value refers to your, in this case, missing answer. Once your application is free from errors, you are ready to proceed and submit. At this point, clicking continue should put your application in the review and submit phase. And then once you get to this page, this is something like the summary page, and it's your last chance to review all of your data and to confirm that it's accurate. Please triple check your work, check your attachments, scroll down to the bottom of the screen to see all of your responses. Make sure everything is completed. And at the bottom of the screen, you will be asked to provide an electronic signature. Please be sure to fill in the signature before checking the box. And then once you check the box and submitted your signature, you can finally click submit. Once you submit, you should get an email with a message similar to this. It's a confirmation message. But if you don't receive it, please call and email me if you desire confirmation prior to receiving it. And one last round for questions. Our question deadline is November 25th, 2024. So you still have a couple days. So you can direct the questions to Yolanda Curry, Deputy Commissioner at 312-743-1503. And she also can be reached at yolanda.curry@cityofchicago.org. And then for any e-procurement and non-programmatic questions, they can be directed to the e-procurement hotline. Again, they're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. And their number is 312-744-4357. And their email information is customersupport@cityofchicago.org. And you can also reach out to me. My name is Jillian Black, the Procurement Proposal Coordinator. And my email is jillian.black@cityofchicago.org. With that being said, does the senior team has anything to add before we close out?
Well, this is Yolanda. First, I would just say thank you, right? Thank you for taking time to come to this technical assistance session and, considering, right, applying for our fitness program. I would say fitness kind of programming at our senior centers is one of the core services and opportunities that seniors across the city of Chicago definitely lean into and really kind of enjoy, that programming. Again, I would say as a lot of the funding comes from Title 3D of the Older American Act, which is very specific around some of the curriculums that we can use. So in the RFP itself, right, it is the list of the different curriculums that have been determined highest tier that you guys can consider putting as part of like your programmatic plan. But again, with a lot of those different criteria, you want to kind of look to see who the intellectual property kind of belongs to, go to their websites, kind of understand what it really means, right, to be able to do it, what the costs are associated with doing it, in the training requirements. And so again, we have kind of core programming that we're doing, but we're also looking for a level of innovation. So if you guys would maybe take some time to look at that as well. And so I will just say good luck, like with your proposals, right? Be thoughtful. And if you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to reach back with questions.
Great, thank you, Yolanda. Again, the question deadline is November 25th, 2024. So we still have time to submit questions. And with that being said, I will close out now. Everyone have a good rest of your day and hope to see you soon. See your application soon. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.